business very incrementally and cottage industry. We build one at a time. I do not have a factory where we set up panels and smack them together and have like a bunch of, fancy employees and stuff like that. I don't really, maybe I go that route, but I'm kind of more of an egalitarian, and I really want to see people able to afford housing in here in Siskiyou County. And so the tiny house becomes one of the only ways that you can achieve that. There is other concepts and ideas that we're working with, ADUs, things of this nature, and they're on the horizon as well. But as far as dollars for donuts and the ability to transport, not only for forest fires, climatic change, you don't like your landlord, you found a better spot, ocean view, whatever, right? You can just I'm sick
fire.
Joshua Tree is calling, right? You can move it. You don't have to be locked in place with a foundation. And the other thing is you don't have to pay for the foundation, right? So are there a lot of good things that come with a foundation? Of course, I love pouring foundations. It's concrete and steel, and it's there forever, right? The tiny house is definitely a transitional home. They're not really intended to last more than 100 years, though I'm sure that they could. I'm sure they could. I took apart one from the 1950s that I was just first off, blown away at the quality of the wood. I was like, why does Grandpa get to play with so much better wood than me? What's up with that, dude?
Yeah, way better.
VG for days, dude. No, we're like, it doesn't have any knots in it, Grandpa's like, yeah. That's how it all looks, right? But having said that, to build something more realistic to the lumber and the age of trees that we don't have today is super important, right? Because you really want to work with what you got, right? And so that's what this represents. It was in a transitional period, and I still think that we are post-pandemic, because the way that lumber operated and the way things were sold has changed so much. And the bamboo flooring that I've been looking for days, which has been completely unaffordable, because the tariffs are gone. I obviously got the call the other day, hey, bamboo flooring's back, and I was like, oh, well, I just figured out this American alternative, but thank you very much. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, oh, you snooze, you lose, bro. So we're always trying to upgrade more towards Cali, more towards Siskiyou and Turtle Island, and things again that are more locally based, not only for cost but also for reliability and the connectivity to community. I cry every day that the weed mill is closed. I'm working at the closed McLeod mill. It's just ghost town over there, but I am blessed to have an amazing processing facility right here in McLeod. So this thing was produced locally, and this model is more of a hyperlight version for travel. You can get a lot of different varieties. You can go more for say insulatory factor. If you're going to be up in the high alpine, you want to stick it up by Everett Memorial, you would have to build this differently, right? Conversely, if you were going to build it for Hawaii, this thing would be a mold bomb in a second. Right? It would just be the ants would just carry it away, termites would be oh, sawdust factory, right? So build for your climate, right? This one is more of a mid-grade. It was built for to be up in Jacksonville, actually, is where it lived for quite some time on a very gorgeous property, estate, if you will. This one's rocking in the high 30s to 40,000 or something like that. So it gets you in the 200 something range as far as square footage. I'm not a mathematician, so I'm not about to do 3 carry the 1 divided by. It's 222 or 225 to 250, somewhere in there is generally where you end up with in square footage land on these types of things, right? So the maximum size allowable is 400 square feet. That's what a lot of people go. That ends up being closer to the 300, 350. And so this is an experiment to get it down to the I was shooting for 200 actually. The first one I did was 100. So it's it keeps moving, and I'm like, stop, get cheaper. Can something get cheaper? My God, right? No, that ain't happening, right? These stoves used to be $600, now they're $1,200.
Wow.
That right there has gone from 2018 to today. That first one I bought was $600. Those are now rocking about $1,200 plus the kit to install them. Just to give you an idea of what I'm dealing with. That door used to be, $400, and now it's closer to $800, right? So we're constantly having to open up our minds to the possibilities of, you know, upcycled, recycled, and things of that nature. But honestly, when it comes down to park models and what we're talking about with Mount Shasta, Weed, and Dunsmuir, you're going to have to meet the ANSI specs in order to circumnavigate the foundational requirements. And that's ultimately what the tiny house movement comes down to. They no longer are considered tiny house on wheel. I just found this out, and now it's called a movable tiny house. So forget everything